Hi, Stephanie. So today I'm going to give you my version of the rules of writing. Basically, I'm going to do a makeup tutorial and kind of tell you how and why these kind of go together. Basically, they're the same thing. You're just trying to bullshit people. So let's get started. I'm going to start with primer. And basically, the primer is your outline. And what it does is it gets you started, it preps your skin. It also kind of preps you and what you are going to write about. What are you going to be putting on your face? Primer is really important. And just like in writing, an outline is really important because instead of just going in it and ending up with like a really shitty makeup job, it can kind of set the tone of what you want to do with your paper and just how you want to go about it. I then go in with a concealer. And so the concealer I would consider is kind of like your introduction. It gets the rest of your face going and it hides the fact that you really don't know what you're doing with your paper. Just like a good introduction, you need a good concealer. So this one's really nice. It's by Yves Saint Laurent and it's very creamy. Feel like with concealer, it reminds me of an introduction of a paper because of the fact that it will go in all different places to hide all different types of insecurities you have in this case. And so at least I gotta fake it till you make it, I guess, right? Right? So now we start with the foundation. For this case, let's say if you want to write more of a narrative kind of style and you want to be a little more authentic to yourself, I use a tinted moisturizer by Laura Mercier. And the reason why I relate foundation to the rules of writing is because it reminds me of the body paragraphs. Basically, it kind of embodies all your main arguments, what your reader will be really focused on. And just like in makeup, the foundation is kind of your full face. It's the first thing that someone will see. So if your foundation isn't right, if your body paragraphs aren't right, if they're, getting the reader really lost, if the person that's looking at your face is like, oh my God, it doesn't match your fucking skin or your neck, it will really degrade the whole credibility of your essay, or in this case, of your whole makeup look. So you want to make sure they have a really good foundation that matches your skin, matches your neck. And just like in writing, you want to make sure you have a good foundation, your good body paragraphs that argue for what you want them to argue. Otherwise, your reader will get lost, and otherwise the people looking at your face will run away. So I don't have to really use a lot, but it blends into the skin very seamlessly. My foundation can kind of seep into the primer. It can kind of follow where the primer was. And so the foundation, the primer, in this case, body paragraphs and your outline, they really work together. The next thing is adding all the extra details. So by this point in writing, you look at all your body paragraphs and you just want to cry. But I need to add now the main arguments. I need to add the main goals of this paper. And so at this point in my makeup routine, this is where I usually start with my eyebrows. And so I have this little spoolie right here. And I have this little Glossier little boy brow thing. And so I think about steps like this, like my eyebrows. I'm going to do mascara next. I'm going to do a little bit of eyeshadow to kind of add a little more dimension to the face. And the reason why this is all important, again, is just like in a paper, this kind of strengthens your body paragraphs. And just like on your face, it strengthens the contours and it gives a little more dimension to what the person is looking at on your face. And just like in this case with writing, it gives a reader a little more direction. And so you have to make sure you include steps like this, like putting on your eyebrows, eyeshadow, and mascara. And again, just like in writing, adding and embellishing your arguments, because if you don't, your paper is going to look very flat and boring, just like your face. And so we don't want that. Again, the whole point is to bullshit, and you want people to think that this is actually what you look like when it's not. And that's what we all want to do with writing. We want people to think we're like the next Shakespeare, when in reality, we can't even spell definitely right without pronouncing it definitely. It was a trick I learned in middle school, and it has helped me since. So now that I got the eyebrows done, I'm gonna work on this eye. So I use this Charlotte Tilbury Rose Gold Eyes to Memorize. It's a really creamy consistency, so I really like it. And it just kind of brightens up the eye area. I'm gonna put a little dab there, a little dab there. Okay, there we go. This could be, me adding all my zombie nouns to my paper, because I am quite the victim of that vicious cycle. Again, there's nothing too much because again, in writing, you don't want to sound too crazy or make people think that you have a PhD when you barely just got your bachelor's. So this is very subtle and gets to the point. It doesn't overpower your arguments or anything else. It just kind of strengthens them. And that's what we want, especially in writing. And so, I'm going to do my eyelashes. And then I use the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. I would really think of this mascara as like thesaurus.com. Because every single time I'm like, all right, how do I say the word big without saying the word big and using something a little better, a little more academic? Thesaurus.com is my go-to, and this mascara is exactly that. So just like that, we got a little more dimension on the face, and just like that on your paper. Now I'm going to do the blush. And this is kind of like the start of your conclusion. We talk about conclusions because it has to tie everything together. And so if I just left my face with just the eyes, my face would still look pretty flat. And so would the paper. If you don't have something to tie it all together, it would just leave the reader hanging. So I like to add a little bit of blush. This is from Milk. Very nice consistency. And it just kind of blends in, right? It just blends into the paper. It's not meant to do anything. It's not meant to be its own showstopper. It's meant to, again, just add support to what you were arguing. So now we got that. I will add a little bit of contour. I use the Fenty Beauty contour stick, and I like to just add a little bit there. This is, again, kind of like your conclusion step. You just want to make sure that nothing's overpowering, but it's just all working together. Just like that. So kind of working through the conclusion again, adding all those final touches. I'm going to get my setting spray. So now we have our setting spray. And just like I said, this is kind of like the ending part of your conclusion. And this just kind of ties in what you were saying before. I feel like the beginning of the conclusion, like we added with like the blush and the contour, it just kind of reiterates a lot of the points. And so I usually use a blush that kind of matches the undertones of my eyeshadow. So you kind of refer back to those points in your conclusion. The contour, again, when you start getting into the middle of your conclusion, you want to make sure that you're not saying new points, but you're emphasizing them. And so with contour, it really emphasizes, facial structure. And then finally, the end of your conclusion, you have your setting spray. So I use a Farsali Rose Gold Skin Mist. Has little specks of gold in it because why not? And then this I will spray on all over my face. What it does, it just sets everything together. At the end of your conclusion on your paper, you want to make sure that the reader is left certain, secure, in knowing of what you read. And in my life, that's just not the case. People look at me and then they're like, oh my God, I was not secure, I was not certain, and I don't know what I just looked at. So I'm just gonna spray this. And there you go. And at this point, this is kind of like the review, right? So for me, I will look at my face and I'll be like, all right, what are we missing here? Okay, fuck, I forgot my highlighter. So now we're gonna go back in, we're gonna review. This is kind of like parts where you edit pieces of your paper together. We realize, hey, I forgot to mention this point, which was a really good point. So in this case, I forgot to include a highlighter. In other cases, you'll actually probably get rid of stuff. So at this point, I'll be like, all right, you know what? I wanted to get rid of this, and guess what? In makeup, you can't really get rid of anything. You can only add or you can blend. So unlike makeup and writing, you have that luxury. I'm gonna add a little bit of sheen right there. In writing, you have the luxury of going back and editing and re-editing. So that's why reviewing is important, and taking advantage of the fact that you can go back on your paper and edit and re-edit and revise, and you have the resources to review everything that you've written down. That is the best thing about writing. And so after you kind of review and you go back and you realize, hey, I forgot something, or hey, I needed to add a little bit more. After that step, then you get your full face, or in this case, you get your full essay. So we're going to look back on it, we're going to think about it, and we're going to be happy about it. So anyway, I hope this was somewhat informative, if not comical at the very least. If you're not laughing with me, you can laugh at me. But anyway, I hope you were able to see what the parallels are with writing and makeup, and I hope you kind of got the gist of it. And I hope this helped you write another paper, or if not, look even better. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Bye.